It's been a minute since we've done more of a vlog style video, so figured I would film my squat session today. I'm starting to overcome an oblique strain, so I will take you through what I'm doing for my leg day currently and how I've been kind of working around that because it hasn't affected every single movement. I can still move in the sagittal plane pretty well. Bracing is a bit difficult at times, but we've been working around it and we've made some solid gains. Also, I have been rocking these lately. These are the Nano Flex TRs. Basically, they're like a budget-friendly nano model, and they have some aspects of the nano, but also the speed TR, which I kind of like. But review is coming soon on these. I've been trying to wear them for all of my training sessions, so I will wear them for a majority of the work today, sans the back squats. But expect that in the near future. Overall, decent shoe, especially for 90 bucks. But stay tuned for that review. I'm going to the gym.
Okay.
Send me off. Send me off how you always do.
Okay. Turn around.
What is
Hinge?
Hinge? Ah!
You got it, babe.
Okay. Okay, bye. Hey guys, so I included my warm-up in this video for a specific reason. When I think about my prior couple of weeks of training, things have been a bit sporadic, especially with dealing with this oblique. Plus this week has been like stupid hectic busy and I've been working way too much and I haven't been recovering properly. So that being said, something that I like to do personally, and I think that it can be really useful for other athletes and lifters to adapt to their training, is to adapt warm-ups based on what they're doing the day of. Instead of just thinking that we have to do the same thing day in and day out, or just start with the bar to feel warm, I think it can be way more productive to prep yourself in a means that's actually conducive to the individuality of your goals and context of life. Now, obviously there will be days when I have less time and I will cut my warm-up shorter, but for a day like this, I haven't trained since Tuesday formally. I haven't back squatted for weight in a while. I'm dealing with an oblique strain. So my logic was get blood flowing, just move around, just feel loose, get some freaking energy going, and also test what I can handle with my oblique. Everything that I included in this warm-up had some specific reason to it. Now, was it specifically tailored perfectly to the back squat? Not every single movement, but I did have a flow to it. So as an athlete and a lifter, I think it can be really important to scale warm-ups based off of the sessions you're doing, the energy you have at hand, and what helps you feel most prepped. Do not box yourself into a one-size-fits-all warm-up mentality. I do not think that's very productive. So I want to go on a little rant really fast before we get into our squat sets. It's about warm-ups, and more so on the topic of how people on, I think social media can be a bit dogmatic with warm-up approaches, especially those people who are like, just get to the barbell and start going, bro. Like, I feel like that's such a reductionist way of looking at it, because I get the context as to why people approach that type of warm-up and why they preach it. It's to help people stop wasting time on useless shit before their warm-up. It's like that whole like 30 to 45 minute sessions of like humping the foam roller. Like, I get why just getting into your sets can be useful there, but what I don't agree with is taking that approach and applying it to everybody, especially in every single context, or even making people feel stupid for warming up with a bit more variability compared to just the movement they're doing. So for example, today, my warm-up was pretty damn diverse. Not everything was so focused on the back squat when it comes to the specificity of movement. However, I haven't been sleeping well. I haven't trained since Tuesday, actually. I went bouldering Wednesday, took off yesterday, and I wanted to move. I wanted to feel warm. I wanted to see how my body was doing across multiple movement patterns and just check in with myself and just move a bit freely. And was it so specific for my squat? It got more specific as I went. I did focus on areas that I know I need to personally prep before I get into my movement. But that being said, my rant is this. If you want to warm up and however you want, do it. Don't feel like there's one perfect way to warm up. We need to scale our warm-ups based on a ton of different aspects that are individual to us. So if some days you want to get right into the bar like I do, that's great. If some days you want to take a lot more time for some added variability in your warm-up to prep yourself, like I do as well, do it. I don't have warm-ups that are perfectly consistent throughout every training session. And I think as a lifter and an athlete, it's really important to understand how to scale your warm-ups based on the tasks at hand for the day, your overall energy that you have for the session, and the overall context of your life. Understanding that Not every single session is gonna feel the same, so if you do need to change up your warm-up slightly to prep yourself fully, do it. But rant over, I just fucking hate dogmatic approaches or reductionist approaches to training for that matter. My face is itching like crazy right now from beta alanine. It is so bad, but now I'm gonna start squatting. We'll see how the body's moving today. Also, training beats today are Chevelle, Slipknot, and a little bit of Foo Fighters sprinkled in. They are for squatting. So for this squat session, I had two main goals. Number one, accrue some decent volume, and number two, test what the oblique can handle with a posterior load. So in my warm-ups, and these clips are sped up for the first few, so do not think I'm squatting this fast, I loaded a little bit with a smaller jump focus because I want to do accrue more volume, but also for me personally with the high bar back squat, it just helps me feel a bit more prepped when I do smaller jumps. It's funny, like, even if I'm working heavier, taking smaller jumps, like, I don't feel necessarily any bit of energy loss by taking those extra jumps and maybe having even additional volume before my heavier sets. Now, obviously, if I'm working up for doubles or singles and I'm in comp season, that changes. But for this context, I did smaller jumps. My first set of 4, so I did 4 primary sets of 4 here. Goal was to work up to like a top 4 at a 1 to 2 RIR, was right here, 275. This moved pretty dang well. I was overall very happy with it. I was slowing down the eccentric a little bit and really focusing on allowing my knees to track and focusing on keeping my hip and torso mechanics pretty consistent coming out of the hole. Sometimes I can lean too forward and then shoot my hips up, something I think a lot of us are guilty of at times. But trying to really mentally focus on limiting that has been super helpful for me, and really driving off of the big toes coming out of the hole, or kind of that like forefoot of the foot, has been really, really helpful. 285 moved well, jumped up to 305. This also moved a little bit well. Now there are a couple reps where I do think my hips might have come up a bit quicker than I would prefer. My adductors are so damn overactive, especially coming out of the hole, that I think they help facilitate that initial hip extension, so they kind of shoot my hips up faster than what my quads are ready to extend at the knee and what my torso is able to do. But top set of 315 here, belted up for it. Felt a bit better just because my oblique didn't hurt, knock on wood, throughout the full session, but equally, like, I wanted to respect it and not push it so much. So I added the belt for a little additional support here and to focus on torso mechanics. This video, guys, I know is a lot different than my norm here, but I think it's important to shed some light into my training sessions, especially as I review more shoes and whatnot. Like, I want it to be known, like, what I'm doing, how I'm testing these shoes, how I'm training, what I'm actually putting them through. Plus, I always like to share my coaching rationale behind a lot of things. Now, this next movement is really interesting. So over the last 2 weeks, I've been noticing that I'm kind of hip shifting down in the hole of the squat, and I think it's to compensate for this oblique being a little bit weird and off and not being able to brace as hard as it normally can. So what I've been doing is I've been using this band to pull me into the side where I'm biasing. So generally my left hip will kind of like sit over into the left side. So by putting this band on my hips, it's basically gonna try to subconsciously cue this left leg to push even harder off the ground, which is then gonna level out my hips. This has been working wonderfully. I've been videoing myself from the side and from behind and doing a lot of slow-mo, and that has been incredible for helping my hip shift. I plan to do a hip shift video a little bit later on, but that's a topic that I'm still exploring, and I wanna make sure that the protocols I'm putting in place actually work before I film a video on it. After those two movements, so we had the RDL with the band around the waist and the goblet squat with the band around the waist, we went into a sandbag over the shoulder for some rehab stuff for the oblique and just for some conditioning. And then we also did a dumbbell step up with the dumbbell specifically over the left side, once again to build up that oblique strength and stability. Basically teach myself again how to stabilize on this left side. The final movement I did was this mountain climber variation with the feet against the wall. Goal here is to exhale forcefully when you bring your knee up and really focus on creating like a nice strong contraction through the core. All right, guys, that wraps up this vloggy-esque full squat session day. Overall, decent workout. Honestly, it felt better than I expected for not back squatting in so long. Also, nursing this oblique has been changing my mindset towards my programming, so hopefully kind of my rationale that I provided in the workout makes some sense overall for y'all. But I'm gonna take some creatine now, eat a little meal, and get back to work. I have a shit ton to get done, to be honest, a little bit overwhelmed. But just gotta keep the head down, keep working. Creatine I'm taking right now, California Gold Nutrition Creatine. Decently cheap on Amazon. I'm actually gonna link that down below in the description. If you need new creatine, check them out. Simple, nothing crazy, gets the job done. But guys, that being all said, if you guys like this video, this format, if you want to see anything in particular moving forward, or if you just want me to cover any specific topics, always feel free to let me know. I have like a big content calendar built out for the next couple months, but if anything ever comes up, or if you guys ever want to see anything, I'm always down to shift things around and film stuff kind of on the fly. Tomorrow or the next day, I have a hip hinge video coming out. I got a comment on trap bar versus barbell deadlift video, which I'll link up there, about what is a hip hinge. So we're gonna talk about the hip hinge, why it's useful, and I'm actually gonna implement my girlfriend in this one to teach y'all, so I can actually coach and be a little bit more hands-on. But I'll see you guys in the next one. If you haven't already yet, drop a like to the video, and also drop a subscribe to the channel. Peace, guys.